Hi, I'm Kristen from Tiny Footsteps Travel. We are now in beautiful Scotland, and I'm going to share with you some really cool things that you can do in Scotland with kids. We visited Scotland with our two kids who are 12 and 4 years old. It was a great place to visit for these ages, very safe, family friendly, and lots of cool stuff to do. We spent 2 weeks there, so I have quite a few ideas to share with you of things to do. I do wish, though, that we'd have more time because Scotland is honestly an incredible country to visit. We spent a total of 2 weeks driving around Scotland, and we saw pretty much all the highlights that are good to see in a first-time visit, and it was a first for all of us. It was an incredible trip, and the timing of everything was perfect. And like I said, the only thing I'd change is to have more time, especially in certain places. So I'm going to walk you through what we did, our itinerary in order to help you plan a similar amazing trip for your family. We flew into Edinburgh and immediately drove to Midhope Castle, the real-life Lallybrook from Outlander. I'm an Outlander fan, and it's only a 15-minute drive from the Edinburgh airport, so it's a nice, relaxing thing to do if you're jet-lagged and waiting for check-in time for your accommodation. It also had some great trails on the grounds. We spent 3 days in Edinburgh, and I'm glad we did. I'm also glad that we didn't spend much more than that just because there's so much more to see in Scotland, but we did find some good things to do in Edinburgh with kids. The park you see here is called Princess Park, and as you can see, it's right down below, almost beside Edinburgh Castle, and it's a really lovely place to stroll through. We really enjoyed just walking through here. I do recommend visiting the Edinburgh Castle. It's very busy and it's also a bit pricey, so you should buy your tickets in advance. The castle is very large and intricate, lots of really cool things to see, and there's also a really nice view from the top. Here's a tip: if you're planning to go to Edinburgh Castle plus 1 to 2 other castles in Scotland, then I recommend the Explore Pass. The Explore Pass pays for itself in just after 2 castles for us that we visited, so it was a really good deal. The National Museum was free to get in, and I enjoyed a really nice morning here with my youngest daughter, who was 4 years old. It had a lot of really interesting exhibits and things for kids to look at, and is definitely a fun thing to do with them. So one thing we did to escape the busyness of the Royal Mile in Edinburgh was duck into some beautiful churches and cathedrals like this one. This is St. Giles Cathedral, and it's right on the Royal Mile. We enjoyed coming in here just to take a break and hit the pause button for a few minutes before continuing on. If you go in here, don't miss the beautiful blue ceiling.
And I'm then going to get you to each to pick whichever one of those houses you like the sound of the most.
We're Harry Potter fans, so it was mandatory to do a Harry Potter tour. Some of the tours have minimum ages, and based on the tour we did, we feel that it's probably best for an older age group, maybe 7 or 8 years old and up. But it was really interesting, and we learned a lot of really fun and interesting facts about the books and the city as well.
The most important thing, most important part of the spell, the third part, is to have a good, strong, brave, impressive spellcasting pose. So I want to see your best spellcasting pose, please. As heroic as possible. That's very
Harry
good.
Potter tours usually end at Victoria Street, which is one of the most photographed in Scotland. There's a Harry Potter store there, which is very cool. Just be prepared to line up for it. We probably waited about 20 minutes. My husband and oldest daughter, they did a tour at the Chocolatarium, where you get to learn about where chocolate comes from all over the world, the production of chocolate, and they also got to decorate their own chocolate bar and bring it home at the end, so that was pretty cool. This also has a minimum age. I believe it's about 7 years old. After Edinburgh, we embarked on our journey through the rest of Scotland, and our very first stop was the Kelpies. They're right off the highway. There are playgrounds on site, several parking lots, but it was very busy, so we didn't play at the playgrounds. but it did have a nice cafe and gift shop. It's a nice little stop, to be honest. After the Kelpies, we stopped at a castle that we ended up liking even better than the Edinburgh Castle, and that is Stirling Castle. The town of Stirling is really nice. The castle itself is a bit less busy. It's very large, just like the Edinburgh Castle. There's lots to look at, and there's so many beautiful views from the top as well.
This is my castle.
We were glad that we made the stop at Doune Castle. It's great for Game of Thrones and Outlander fans, but also for kids. It was just a much smaller castle that wasn't busy, and it was really fun for them to explore and talk about where the kitchen was and where people slept. I found it to be a really nice, easygoing castle. After this day of road tripping and making all these stops, we spent a couple days in the heart of the Highlands, near the tourist town of Pitlochry. It's a beautiful area. One of the must-sees is Queen's View, which ended up being one of the best pictures from Scotland that we took. It has a cafe, ice cream, and gift shop on site. The other thing we were glad we visited was Blair Castle, just 10 minutes from Pitlochry. It was one of my favorite things that we did in Scotland with our kids. The grounds are absolutely beautiful. You can go inside, although we didn't. We did a garden-only visit. There were deer on the grounds that we could see, a playground, old ruins, beautiful gardens, and a pond, lots of wildlife. On our way up to Inverness from the Central Highlands, we stopped at Cairngorm National Park, and we did the Cairngorm Reindeer hill trip, which was very family friendly. My 4-year-old walked up to the top of the hill on her own. You don't pet the reindeer, but everyone gets a chance to feed them. It was truly a unique experience, and it was really nice to see some wildlife up close. Hi. We spent a few nights in Inverness, and one thing I'm really glad we did, especially with the kids, was a Loch Ness Boat cruise. Both kids enjoyed hearing about the legend of Nessie, and the lake was so beautiful. Doing the cruise for the views alone was worth it. We did a cruise that allowed us to stop at Urquhart Castle, which was a very worthwhile castle ruins to walk around and explore. The whole experience was great. It's only about a 20-minute drive from just south from Inverness. Which is around 230 meters in depth. From here, you can get a magnificent view resembling a whale. A local newspaper ran an article called Strange Spectacle.
In the crushing pressure of the gloomy abyss.
Other things we did near Inverness included a tour of the Culloden battlefield, which I recommend, especially if you're interested in the Jacobite history. And it's only an hour, so even our 4-year-old was able to tolerate it. We went to the Cairns, which isn't too far away. It's a really nice, mysterious, ancient ground. And it's in a very large outdoor area, so it's a good place to visit as a family. And there's also the Culloden Viaduct, and it looks similar to the Jacobite train, which is on the other side of Scotland, and it looks similar sort of to the Harry Potter train. This was something that we just sort of stopped and looked at and took pictures. For what I could see, there wasn't really anything to do other than just stop and look at it. The drive from Inverness to Isle of Skye is about 2.5 hours. We made a quick stop at Rogie Falls, which was a really pretty waterfall. There are bathrooms on site, but they were closed at the time we were there. We still found it to be a really nice walk through the woods and a way to stretch our legs and see a nice waterfall. We stopped in Kyle of Lochash before crossing over to the Isle of Skye, and it was a really pretty town with beautiful harbour views. The scenery in Isle of Skye we found to be just out of this world. It was so beautiful. It was a treat to just drive around and go on hikes. Now I will say Isle of Skye is extremely popular, and driving around can sometimes be a pain in the butt because the roads weren't built for the amount of tourists that we have today. But there's a lot of great things to do there. It's so gorgeous. As long as you're patient and flexible and willing to do the less popular things, I would definitely recommend it. One of the highlights there was finding dinosaur footprints on the beach.
Where did I see it then?
On our way out of Skye, we stopped at the Eilean Donan Castle, which is one of the most popular castles in Scotland. But it is also a smaller castle, so it is nice to visit as a family. They had lots of food on site, lots of gift shops, so you can definitely spend a couple of hours there, and the views are gorgeous. As we drove south towards Glasgow, we just saw the scenery getting more and more spectacular, and we passed through Glencoe, which just has some of the most dramatic scenery in all of Scotland. We ended up continuing on to Loch Lomond, and we stopped in a small village called Luss, which was also just a really nice place to spend an afternoon as a family. Had a nice beach, a playground, it was very walkable, had ice cream. We got there at 4 o'clock, so it was very quiet. It might be busier during the day. I hope that this video has given you some inspiration and ideas for your trip to Scotland. It's really such an amazing place to visit, and we're so glad we spent 2 weeks there. I would love to go back and do more.